Some wars are for glory, others are for revenge. There was one that was very special. What was it for? Nutmeg. For context, back in the age of exploration, nutmeg was worth boatloads of money. It was used to flavor drinks, cover up smells of rotten meat, prevent disease, and even buy a house.
We'd like the mansion by the lake.
Okay, that'll be an ounce of nutmeg.
An ounce? We have 7/8. Will you take that?
Give me a hug, and it's a deal. Now, why was nutmeg such a sought-after commodity? Because back then, it only grew on 10 tiny islands in Indonesia called the Bandas. 9 of them were owned by the Dutch East India Company, or VOC. They had over 50,000 employees underneath them, and basically a monopoly over trade after Portugal fell to Spain. The 10th island, Roon, was owned by the English. The VOC wanted a monopoly over every spice possible. To maintain this, they beheaded every Banda native over 15. The fact that the English had an island in the same archipelago with nutmeg growing on there was basically, to them, a declaration of war. This is not good. There's English on the 10th island.
Let's take it over. Nothing to lose.
The Englishmen awoke one day to see VOC ships arriving to capture the island for themselves. The capture of the island was less of an actual war and more of an extremely hostile corporate takeover. Some of the English deserted on whatever big ships they had left, but the people who were left alone on the island stood their ground for about 4 years. Eventually, they were met by a Dutch deserter. Help! I don't like the VOC and want to team with you instead.
You look trustworthy. Come on in.
This deserter was actually a spy. He'd eavesdrop on the English's plans of attack and then relay the plans to the Dutch. Eventually, the English were tired of fighting and tried to make a run for it on the tiniest boat they had, just a small lifeboat. However, the captain of the troop was shot dead with a cannonball over the water, effectively ending the English's control over the island. So, the English and Dutch compromised. England would give room to the VOC, and in return, they would get a less valuable island on the other side of the world, called Manhattan. To say the least, this was a huge mistake on VOC's part, as they went bankrupt in the 17th century, and Britain grew Manhattan into the prosperous city of New York. The moral of the story here is that what may seem like a petty squabble now could have been extremely important back in the day. Also, when trading islands, don't trade a nearly uninhabited island for a potential bustling port. Common sense.
We'd like the mansion by the lake.
Okay, that'd be $700,000.
Will 7/8 ounce of nutmeg do?